Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you real plain today, because in 2026, the rules haven't changed, the players haven't changed, but the game is being played smarter by women who finally understand one thing. A man doesn't think about what he has easy access to. He thinks about what he feels he might lose. Now I know some of y'all been told to text him back fast, stay available, keep proving yourself, but let me help you today. If you want a man to think about you all the time, you don't do more, you do less, but you do it with purpose. Let me tell you something real, something most people don't understand about a man's mind. The energy you give is the energy he remembers, and this is not about pretending, acting, or performing. This is about who you are being when nobody is watching, and how that feeling stays with him long after the conversation ends. A man may forget your words, he may forget what you were wearing, but he will never forget how he felt in your presence. That feeling settles in his mind, and it keeps replaying when you're not around. When your energy is calm, secure, and confident, it creates a sense of peace that a man doesn't find everywhere. In a world full of noise, pressure, expectations, and chaos, peace feels rare. If every time he talks to you, he feels judged, rushed, or emotionally drained, his mind will slowly associate you with stress. But if every time he talks to you, he feels understood, relaxed, and respected, his mind will crave that feeling again. That's how thoughts are formed. That's how memories are built. Not through effort, but through emotional experience. A lot of women think staying on a man's mind means constant communication, texting all day, calling back immediately, always being available. But what that really does is flatten the emotional impact. When everything is predictable, there's nothing for the mind to revisit. Energy works differently when your presence adds value instead of pressure, when your absence creates reflection instead of relief. That's when a man starts thinking. He starts remembering how he laughed with you, how calm he felt after talking to you, how different your vibe was compared to everyone else. Energy is also about self-respect. When you don't overreact, when you don't chase attention, when you don't beg for clarity, you send a silent message that you are emotionally grounded. That kind of energy stays with a man because it challenges him to rise. He starts wondering why you're not anxious, why you're not demanding, why you seem so sure of yourself. His mind begins filling in the gaps, and those gaps are powerful. Your energy is also shaped by how you treat yourself. When you speak kindly about your life, when you move with purpose, when you don't make him the source of your happiness, he feels that independence. Independence doesn't push a man away. It pulls his thoughts closer. He starts thinking about where he fits in your world, not how you fit into his. And once a man starts questioning his place, you're already on his mind. This is why emotional stability is unforgettable. When conflict doesn't turn you bitter, when silence doesn't make you desperate, when uncertainty doesn't shake your worth, that strength becomes memorable. He may not admit it, but his mind keeps returning to the woman who felt different, who felt safe, who felt solid. Energy like that doesn't fade, it lingers. Let me explain something clearly. because scarcity creates value in a man's mind, whether people like to admit it or not. When something is always available, always reachable, always saying yes, the mind stops treating it as special. Familiarity turns into comfort, and comfort, if unchecked, turns into neglect. This is not cruelty, it's psychology. The human mind assigns worth based on effort, anticipation, and the possibility of loss. When access is limited, attention increases. When attention increases, thoughts follow. Scarcity does not mean playing childish games or disappearing without reason. It means having a full life that does not pause on command. It means responding when you choose, not when you feel anxious. When a man realizes that your time is valuable and not automatically his, something shifts internally. He starts planning instead of assuming. He starts thinking instead of coasting. His mind begins to work because it has to. And whatever the mind works for, it remembers. When you are not always present, your absence becomes noticeable. Silence gives space for imagination. In that space, a man starts replaying moments, conversations, laughter, and emotions. He wonders what you're doing, who you're with, and how you're feeling. That wondering is the beginning of attachment. Constant availability kills curiosity, but healthy distance feeds it. A man cannot miss what never leaves, but he will think deeply about what he doesn't fully have. Scarcity also teaches a man respect. When you don't drop everything for him, when you don't rearrange your entire life to fit his schedule, you quietly communicate that you value yourself. That self-value forces him to adjust. He either steps up or he steps away, but either way, his mind is engaged. Even when he steps away, the thought of you lingers because you were not easily replaceable. Easy comes and goes. Rare stays remembered. Another powerful effect of scarcity is emotional balance. When you are not constantly checking in, not constantly seeking reassurance, you remove pressure. Pressure creates resistance, but balance creates attraction. A man feels drawn toward what feels light yet meaningful. When he notices that you are emotionally secure without him constantly feeding you attention, it makes him question his own role. That questioning keeps you in his thoughts long after the interaction ends. Scarcity also protects your dignity. When you don't overextend, you don't feel resentful. When you don't overgive, you don't feel depleted. That emotional clarity shows in how you speak, how you listen, and how you respond. A man notices that calm strength. He feels it even if he can't explain it. And what he feels becomes what he thinks about. The truth is simple. When access is earned instead of given freely, the mind assigns meaning. Meaning turns into memory. Memory turns into thought, and thought, repeated often enough, becomes attachment. Let me tell you something that changes everything once you truly understand itself. Respect makes you unforgettable. A man may be drawn to beauty, charm, or attention, but what stays in his mind is a woman who knows her value and refuses to negotiate it. Self-respect is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly in what you accept, what you walk away from, and what you never have to explain twice. When a woman has self-respect, she doesn't argue for basic consideration. She doesn't chase clarity, loyalty, or effort. She observes. she listens. And when something doesn't align, she adjusts her presence instead of begging for change. That behavior hits a man differently because most people try to force outcomes. Very few are willing to remove themselves with dignity. That ability to walk away calmly plants a permanent thought in a man's mind. She knows something about herself that I don't control. Self-respect also changes how you respond to disappointment. Instead of emotional outbursts, accusations, or endless explanations, you choose restraint. You don't suppress your feelings, you manage them. That control creates a powerful contrast. A man expects drama when things don't go his way. When he doesn't get it, his mind starts replaying the moment. He wonders why you didn't fight, why you didn't plead, why you didn't chase. That curiosity keeps you mentally present even when you're physically absent. Another part of self-respect is consistency with your standards. You don't bend them to keep someone interested. You don't lower them to avoid being alone. When a man sees that your standards are steady regardless of who is in front of you, it creates impact. He realizes that access to you requires effort, maturity, and respect. Even if he fails to meet that standard, the memory of it stays with him. People don't forget the level they couldn't reach. Self-respect also shows in how you speak about yourself. You don't degrade yourself for laughs. You don't seek validation through oversharing. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need approval. That confidence creates safety. A man feels stable around a woman who is stable within herself. Stability is rare, and rare things stay on the mind. When conflict arises, self-respect keeps you grounded. You don't insult. You don't threaten. You don't lose yourself trying to be heard. You state what matters, and you let the response reveal everything you need to know. That emotional maturity leaves an imprint. Long after the conversation ends, he replays your calm tone, your clear words, your refusal to engage in chaos. Self-respect doesn't chase attention, it attracts reflection. And reflection is where thoughts live. Silence can be louder than constant talking, and most people never learn how to use it with intention. Silence is not punishment, avoidance, or emotional withdrawal. It is space, and space is where a man's thoughts grow. When every feeling is explained immediately and every emotion is placed on the table, there is nothing left for the mind to process. But when you allow silence to exist, the mind starts working on its own, filling in gaps, replaying moments, and searching for meaning. A man is used to noise. He is used to explanations, reactions, questions, and emotional demands. When you respond with calm pauses instead of immediate replies, it disrupts his expectations, not in a negative way, but in a way that causes reflection. He begins to wonder what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and where he stands. That wondering keeps his attention focused on you even when you are not speaking. Silence also reveals confidence. When you don't rush to defend yourself or prove your intentions, you communicate that you are secure in who you are. Insecurity needs constant reassurance. Confidence is comfortable with stillness. A man notices when a woman doesn't scramble to be understood. He feels that strength even if he can't explain it. And strength commands respect which naturally leads to deeper thought. Another powerful aspect of silence is emotional regulation. When something doesn't go your way and you choose not to react impulsively, you create contrast. Instead of arguing, pleading, or over texting, you pause. That pause creates room for him to feel the weight of his actions. Words can sometimes soften consequences. Silence lets them land fully. And once they land, they stay. Silence also protects your dignity. You don't say things you'll regret. You don't overexpose your emotions to someone who hasn't earned that access. When a man sees that you are selective with your words, he values them more. He listens differently. He remembers them longer. And in between those moments of communication, his mind fills the quiet with thoughts of you. There is also power in not always being available emotionally. When you don't immediately engage in every conversation or conflict, you show that your peace matters. Peace is attractive because it is rare. A man may not consciously understand why your absence feels different, but emotionally it stays with him. He begins associating you with balance rather than chaos. Silence allows a man to hear his own thoughts. And when he hears them, he often hears your name attached to them. That is why silence, when used with self-respect and clarity, becomes unforgettable. Purpose is more attractive than chasing. And this is one of the hardest truths for many people to accept. When your life has direction, it sends a signal that you are not waiting to be chosen, rescued, or completed. You are moving forward with or without anyone's approval. That kind of energy shifts how a man perceives you. Instead of feeling like the center of your world, he feels like a part of it that must earn its place.